Hello, my name is Klebaster, and I'm going to talk today about grouping etiquette. Now, for the most part, the etiquette will be the same until you hit heroics, in which there are some changes that I will tell you about later in the video. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you one of the biggest issues you have when you group, and to tell you the truth, it's the main reason why many people would rather play solo than group in many games, is just because of this bullshit. Now, the leader of this group, our group leader, was yelling at one of our players for picking the wrong piece of gear. Well, for one, it's low in content, so no one can really complain too much. I mean, we're all over geared. We're just running for the sense of running. I think each of us got maybe one piece of gear that might have been an upgrade. And instead of just talking to him about it and seeing what was going on, he kicked the player, which is another thing you don't do. Now, we're going to go with etiquette rules the way I view them. 1, don't be a dick. Do your job. If something's going on where you can't do your job, just send a quick message, BRB, bio break, or, BRB, kids, something like that. That covers a lot of issues with players. Another one is there's no reason to outright kick somebody unless they are ninjaing. I mean, where you're in a higher end instance, you know exactly what you're supposed to get, and they just pick up gear to sell it or to wear it for their minions or something like that. That you don't do. You pick up for your spec, for your class, and after everyone selects greed, if you still want it for an alt spec or something like that, then you can need it. And then another issue we're going to come upon is, don't power run unless you're asked to do it. And this is mostly goes to tanks because they usually lead the group on what's what. But, as a tank, I have done this on occasion where I've ran way faster than what my healer or my DPS could keep up with, and I've died and gotten angry and realized that they're way behind me because of it. You need to pay attention to a lot that's going on. Don't power run. If you're asking for a power run, post that you're power running when you group, when you're looking for group. And another issue that comes up a lot is don't leave for stupid reasons. And I mean really stupid reasons. I've had groups where people have left because the one boss, they didn't get that piece of gear they're looking for. Well, just finish the bloody instance and run again. It takes time to find players, and most of us don't have the patience to, just sit there and wait and wait and wait. And we're like, we just wanted to finish the instance. We had a group, and the guy was a dick. He left, And then another one is not really leaving instance, but just, being impatient. You get in groups where the DPS or someone might be loading in long or had to take a quick extra minute to do something really quick. Didn't say BRB. Give him a couple of minutes. Don't just go, oh, he's not coming, I'm just going to quit group and find another one. No. No, 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 no. I've lost more groups to impatient players for that very reason than anything else. And it's annoying. Just give them a few minutes. If they don't answer then, tell your group, like, look, the guy's not coming. I really want to run, so I'm just going to leave and take the debuff or something and then call it good. And most of the time everyone's like, yeah, we've been waiting like 5 minutes, he isn't here, I'm doing the same thing. And no one's going to complain at that point. And that's usually the basic etiquette you're going to get around. I'm sure there's some other specific things that I'm not covering, and those are mostly based in game to game. Like in Star Wars The Old Republic, you never pick up gear for your minion unless you're solo running, or you're running with the guildies or some friends that accept it. For the most part, you don't pick up gear for your companion, because for the most part, your companion gets geared while you're doing quests anyways, unless you're powering through content. And another one is, it's called a spacebar thing with Star Wars, where, you got these cutscenes, and people just spacebar, which is a skip button in the game. And that's, there's spacebar runs for that, and that's special etiquette. And, wow, there is an etiquette where with certain runs, you skip certain bosses, and, if someone wants it, you have to ask the party if they're willing to do it. In Star Wars, there's maybe one or two I know of that are actually extra bosses that you can skip or not do, but for the most part, you get asked the group to do that. And now we go on to the all-time favorite part of my thing. Is something that I did not find out until I hit max level in WoW, and I'm soon probably going to hit max level in Star Wars, so it's going to get a lot of the same issues. It's heroic etiquette. And most of you are like, what the hell, I don't have a max level character. Well, heroic etiquette is unique, because the need for versus greed works completely different. For instance, if it is not your gear, you not ever, now when I say not your, I mean it's not for your spec, it's not for you, you never even push need. Never. Ever. I think the only time I've ever done it is when I ran with a friend and we told him, like, we're doing a run for my alts set up so I can get to my main. And everyone's like, oh, okay. Not like it mattered much. I was the only class that used the gear anyways. But you never need gear that isn't for you and your spec. You will get kicked, or people will just leave if you do that. They have zero patience for it. It's an heroic etiquette. I really don't get it, because once you reach that content level and you've been running it for 3 months, for the most part, anyone who's leveling has they're an alt, so usually it shouldn't be so strict, but it is. And another one is, you have to be good at your job when you hit heroics. You can't be a bad healer. Now, if you say you're good enough for normals, that doesn't mean you're good enough for heroics. And the way I've always tracked it is, if you can out heal, like my shaman, my max level shaman, at this time, I think before I got him into heroics, I made sure that I could heal without really paying attention. I think I was watching TV on my secondary screen while playing WoW and healing. That's when I knew I could most likely heal heroics without a serious issue. And even then, I was still undergeared and horribly bad at it, and I had to improve my rotation and this and that. And the same goes for tanking. Like, if you can do your job really well without really trying, you're ready to go up to the next level. Don't be a crappy player. Don't be a crappy DPSer either, because that's another etiquette. Another etiquette rule is do not expect to be treated nicely if you're a crap DPS or a crap healer or a crap tank. DPS have to hit a certain 1,000 damage per a certain DPS ratio. And WoW, I think currently it's 8k, maybe 10k you have to hit to be a good DPSer. I'm not too sure. I don't DPS that often. I usually heal. For healing, I know exactly how good I am. If I can keep my tank over 75% health 9% of the fight as a dot healer, then yeah, I'm pretty good. And I think in Star Wars, I use a bounty hunter healer, and I haven't hit heroics yet. But the only time I've ever had issue with healing is when I've got to heal more than 2 people at a time. So I'm assuming that, once I get properly geared and I can heal all 3 without doing much on, my resource, without having to worry about resource management, is when I'll be doing pretty good. And I'll give it a go at heroics. And probably then I'll suck and I'll have to gear up even more. And the third one is, a third etiquette that's almost unsaid, is that you should look into the auction house before you go into heroics. And it seems odd to do that, but in truth, like, if there's a lot of gear that pops up, it's really rare drop in normals, that's, just a step behind heroic gears that are more common drops, but they make your job really good. And if you're trying to gear up and get into heroics, you're gonna have a ton of spare money unless you're wasting on something just stupid. And I think in Star Wars it's called mods, although that's mostly how you build your armor. In World of Warcraft, there are enchants and gems. You look for those items, things that make you better, but just a small incremental amount can make a big difference. And that's, for the most part, all the etiquette I've ever had to deal with. And I'm sure there's more specialized etiquette for, let's say, tanks have a special etiquettes and whatnot, and I'm sure DPS have some special rules, just like us healers have a rule where, if you can't keep up the whole group during an AoE fight, you do not belong here, things like that. And there are a whole bunch of little things that are different from game to game, and different from class, from group, from what role you're playing in the group. So that, you got to choose. You got to figure out what it is for the most part. Not really choose, but figure it out. And I mean, like, you gotta usually whenever I hit what would be heroic content for that game, I would talk to either one of my buddies or one of my guildmates, and I'd ask them, anyone who's actually high enough level to do so, like, do you know what the heroic etiquette is? What are the special rules I gotta know? And there are some games that are different than others. It's just the way the game works. You have different communities. The WoW community is a high fantasy game, so most high fantasy games follow the same rules. Whereas games like Star Wars is not really a high fantasy, it's sci-fi fantasy, I think is the terminology they have. And you know, they have different rules because they're different, If you have a high fantasy, which is, a lot of magic fantasy world, which is WoW and a lot of games like that, Rift is one of them too, then, they generally play the same so far that I've seen. There's very few differences in them. And so you can guess pretty easily if you know the etiquette of one, you've got the general etiquette of the other. And that's the way it's always been. At least as far as I know. I haven't gamed for a really long time. I started gaming when I was 16 and years ago, but still, WoW was in Burning Crusade back when I was 16, so that's when I started playing, actually paying attention and playing MMOs. If you have any questions or comments you want to do, please post nice, not hurtful, but I would like constructive criticism on the post, and I'll get back to you if it's really important. If you have any questions, post it down there. I'll try and answer them if I find anything worthwhile, because I'm sure there's probably going to be some stupid questions I will not answer.